So for this module, we're going to kind of start over. So I've cleared out all the text inside of our main.js, and I'm just going to go over to our run.js.html, and I'm going to put our canvas back to normal. So 800 by 600. We're going to save that. We're going to save the main.js. Save all just by hitting File, Save All, make life easy. And if we go back to our main program, we hit F5. We get the canvas showing up and nothing coming down here. I'm just going to close the little developer view for now because I don't really need it at this point. If I run into an error, then I'll go check it out. But for now, I don't need to. So here's my canvas. I haven't put anything in it at this point. So going back to our code over here, there's two commands that I can use that I've built for you. And we're just going to go to helper.js to actually take a look at them. The first one we're going to talk about is, where is it? The text command. Essentially what the text command does is it sets a font style and then it says draw some text. There's also a StrokeText command which essentially does the same thing, but it's text that's hollowed out. We can show the differences of those in just 1 second. So how do we actually use this? Well, it requires a font style, the text you want to output, an X coordinate and a Y coordinate. Now these are X coordinate and Y coordinates existing within the canvas. So let me explain something. We said the canvas is 800 pixels by 600 pixels. That means 800 pixels wide by 600 pixels high. Okay, so how is that useful? Well, it gives us a frame of reference. 0, 0, the origin point for our canvas, is the top left of the screen. So that means as X increases, we move to the right. Now, contrary to math class, in this case, as Y increases, we move down. So 100 by 100 is probably somewhere around here. Not up here, which you're used to from math class, where you go above, you go up for Y. For us, for our purposes, we're going down for Y. Why this is, I didn't make it up. Just deal with it. Okay, so we're going to use this text functionality. So we need to supply it with 4 pieces of information: a font style, a text, or text output, an X, and a Y. So a coordinate, a Cartesian coordinate on our Cartesian coordinate system, broken Cartesian coordinate system. So we're going to go back to our main.js where we write our code. So we're going to use that text command first. All I need to do is I write the word text, which is the name of that functionality, and now I need to supply it with the 4 pieces of information needed. So in our case, we need to specify, the first thing we need to specify is our, where'd it go? Our font style. And a font style, there's a number of ways you can specify, but the easiest way is just to display, or just to set a font size. So I want to say, let's say 30 pixels, 30 px. And then a font type. In my case, I'm going to say Century Gothic. Make sure you spell it right. In future purposes, you could also set things like bold and italic and all that kind of stuff as well. So to separate all the information I'm supplying it, each one of these pieces of information is called a parameter or an argument. And what that means is it's just information that the functionality needs to do its job. The text cannot display unless it knows what it's displaying and how it's going to display it and where it's going to display it. Just like when we did the console.log and the document.write and everything like that, inside the brackets was the text that we planned on displaying every time. Without that text, it wouldn't be able to do its job, so it wouldn't have anything to display. So we need to specify all the information correctly and in the correct order. Order matters. So let's just output a very basic message of hello world. And now we need to specify an X and Y coordinate system, an X and Y coordinate. So let's keep it simple. Let's just do it 100 pixels over by 100 pixels down. So 100, comma 100. Now we're just going to save that, and we're going to run it in our program. So if we run this now, we get hello world. Awesome. Pretty simple and easy to do. Later on, we're going to talk about how to change like fill style and everything like that, so you can change the colors and whatnot. But just to show you the other, that stroke text option, just so you can see the difference between the two, I just wrote stroke text. And if I run it now, you can see that it's just not filled in. It's the border of each letter. It depends on what you're building. Maybe that might be useful to you. Maybe it won't be useful at all ever. I'm leaning towards the latter. But it's up to you and whatever your design style is. So that is the most basic form of text. Now, the other form is we actually have the ability to rotate this text. So I can use the command RotatedText, and I just need to specify all the same information, but I need to specify one more value, an angle. How much are we rotating it by? So let's say we're going to rotate it by 45 degrees. Now if we run it, and we hit F5 again, we actually get our rotated text. Well, let's put our original text there as well so we can see what the rotation actually looks like. So let's just do some quick copy and pasting. Copy this. Right above it, we'll put the same thing, but it would be regular text, not rotated, and I don't need the angle anymore. So if we run our program now, and go back to our thing, and we hit F5, we can see both, and we can even see how the rotation actually worked. So it rotated 45 degrees, which is roughly 1/8 of a full turn. So it just rotates in the downward direction, as you can see. If I wanted it to go in the opposite direction, I could do, let's say, -45. And we go back and we run our program, and we get it going the opposite way. So it's really up to you what angle you want to put it at. What I want to emphasize here, just so you can actually see all this and how this actually operates, is I'm going to throw an alert command right in between here. Alert, wait here. I want you to notice something when I run this program. Let me just put a little space in between here. So you can see what the actual text looks like. We're going to go back over here, and I'm going to open up the developer view so we can actually see this. I'm going to go to the sources, and I'm going to go to the main.js so you can see this kind of stuff. And we're going to rerun the program. You can see the code here. What you'll notice is the first thing that's drawn on the screen is the original text. Hello world, and it's drawn in the normal position. And then we get the alert message. Notice this is not run the rotated text yet. That's because it is literally paused. It is waiting on this thing to finish. It will not continue with the rest of the program until we click OK. As soon as we click OK, it continues and we actually get the statement that we expected. What this is emphasizing is two things. First of all, it will wait on the commands. It doesn't go to the next command until it's finished the previous command. Secondly, just like any recipe or anything like that, the code is always executed from top to bottom. So it's always going to go in order. It won't jump around or anything like that for all intents and purposes at this point. So it's always going to go from top to bottom. So we've looked at text, we looked at rotated text. What I want to do quickly is just jump over to the code and go into the helper and show the rotated text code for those people that are not actually in my class and they want to see what it actually looks like so they can do it at home if they'd like to. Let me just go down to it. So there's the rotated text. You can see there's actually quite a bit going on. Essentially what I do is I get the width and the height of the text. I find the midpoint. So if there's an imaginary rectangle that surrounds our text, say it would be right around here. I essentially shift the origin of the world to that point. And then I rotate it by however much I said, and then I shift it back. Okay? If I didn't shift it before I rotated, it would be more like the hello world orbits around the origin as opposed to rotates around its center. And that's obviously not what we're trying to do. We don't want to orbit. We want to rotate in position. It's almost like spinning as opposed to rotation. It's a better word for it. And that's really what this code does here. It sets all this stuff up. It centers everything. It always deals in angles in radians, and it's very easy to calculate radians. Radians is just another unit of measure for an angle, I guess. You can look at it like that. But essentially what we're talking about here is to calculate the differences. We just take the angle, multiply it by pi over 180. And the reason why we do that is in talking in radians, a full circle is actually the equivalent of 2 pi. And that's just a simple equation to convert back and forth. Anyways, so if you want, you can always write this text out for yourself inside your own programs at home. if you're not actually in my classroom. So I hope this helped, and next time we'll be going into something a little bit more complex called